What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we are diving into the Ultra League. Now you might be wondering, where have I been? Why haven't you seen new content from me? It's because I was moving house. My family and I finally found a home that we wanted to go to, so we moved house last Monday, or not yesterday but the week prior, right? And we didn't have internet or anything here at the new house until today. So this is going to be the team that I'm going to be running: Tapu Fini, Charizard and Armored Mewtwo. It got me a solid 10-0 here to start my day, which was so satisfying, as Tapu Fini really breaks apart a lot of the cores that we see with the Steelix meta. Does well against the fighters, does well against the dragons, does well against Steelix, and we're pairing with Charizard and Armored Mewtwo. Alright, getting into the first battle here, we have Tapu Fini on the lead versus Shadow Snorlax. So, somewhat of a neutral lead right here. What I want to do in this situation is look to try to get myself shield advantage. That's what's really important with this team. You have enough bulk here with Armored Mewtwo and Tapu Fini and charge move pressure that you might be able to set yourself up with shield advantage. That's why I'm not shielding the body slam. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the surf here for the shield bait after building up to the Moonblast. We do get a shield as well, which is huge for us, and we're going to go ahead and go for another surf right away to do some extra chip damage. This obviously won't get a shield now, as they're expecting that surf, but it does get them low enough where I can easily let this go and then look to swap in. And we're going to go ahead and come in with the Charizard and get ahead on energy. Now they do decide to stay in, so I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield here, go into the ones, but I am well ahead on energy. And I also have my Tapu Fini as a sacrificial swap, and they do bring in a Giratina Altered. So this is going to be perfect for us because we can spam Dragon Claw. Now what's really cool about the Ultra League is the bulk here and the delay that you can do with the switch clock. So I know that if I shield right here, which is going to be an ancient power, and I go for 2 more Dragon Claws, my switch clock is going to be coming back up again. So I'm going to go ahead and keep Charizard alive, as their best answer was a Pokemon that is weak to it with the charge move, right? So we're going to go ahead and throw the next one, and then we're going to look to go into Armored Mewtwo now to farm down with Confusion, as it can easily tank a charge move or 2. And the confusion damage here actually does quite a lot. Armored Mewtwo, I know it hasn't been in raids for years. I hope it comes back soon. It is such an incredible Pokemon with its charge move coverage, its bulk, and the damage that it can put out. So we're going to go ahead and let these we'll just tank those charge moves, no worries. And then Snorlax is still left, right? Pretty low HP, and they do have a Charizard. So we're going to go ahead and throw the Psy Strike right away. This does so much neutral damage from an Armored Mewtwo. As you guys can see, that is an incredible amount. Now, my opponent has to build up back-to-back charge moves, which they're going to try to do, but they unfortunately won't be able to in time, as Armored Mewtwo is now able to get to another Psy Strike. So that is going to be a good game, very well played, as I will swap back into Charizard to take out the Snorlax. So good game. Again, reminding you guys, you see I'm in the teens still on rankings. I haven't been able to play since September 3rd, right? So it's been a long time. But we have the new Oinkalong. I'm just going to call him Bacon Pig. This Pokemon, I wasn't sure what charge moves it had, if I'm being honest, the first time I've ever seen it, but it does have Trailblaze, which is that new grass type charge move, basically the same as Flame Charge, boosts your attack. Guaranteed, and has the grass type coverage. So what we're going to look to do here is we're going to soft lose this lead, because the Armored Mewtwo and Charizard with energy can really take this game for me. So I'm going to go ahead and let them go for a charge move, and then I'm going to bring in that Charizard once again and just load up on energy, as the Buzzwole that we saw in the lead, I have 3 great answers for, right? Charizard and Armored Mewtwo both do very, very well. So we're going to go ahead and load up here. We're going to we're going to shield this Body Slam. Then I'm just going to overload on energy, because I feel like having a good amount of health and a full, almost full energy bar right there. We're just going to go ahead and go for a Dragon Claw. That way I have a charge move ready to go. Is going to be my best play, right? Energy advantage, and we do see a Staraptor come in. So this is going to be a good game. The Buzzwole, I'm going to be swapping into Armored Mewtwo here, which is going to force them to swap after they shielded, and they get locked down by the Armored Mewtwo. That is going to be a good game, very well played, as they do decide to surrender. Now, we do face off against quite a few Steelix today, which we're going to see right here in this next game. And Tapu Fini does incredibly well against Steelix. And if you're running a Steelix team, you obviously need a good counter to Tapu Fini. But Tapu Fini can core break because something like a Virizion, which is a good counter, a grass-type Pokemon, still takes super effective damage from Moonblast. So what we're going to do here in this situation is we're going to look to utilize and leverage our bulk and try to come out of here with energy. If we can, maybe commit to the full farm down. I do not need to worry about an Earthquake because it's not going to do enough damage, right? So we're going to go ahead and go for the Surf. We do get a Shield, which is even better. This tells me now that they are core broken in some way. And I can safely let the Earthquake go through. Don't even need to worry about it. It doesn't one-shot. And we can just fast move down because they're going to go ahead and try to go for another Breaking Swipe. I believe this, or was this a Psychic Fang one? No, this was the Breaking Swipe one. There's a Psychic Fang one that we face off against as well. So we're going to go ahead and farm down. 2-to-1 shield advantage, switch advantage, and energy. So we're going to go ahead and swap into the Armored Mewtwo right away to clear the debuff. Now, since they are not swapping out, this gives me a tell that there's likely a fighter in the back, considering we see a Steelix and we see a Tapu Fini to help cover the anti-fighters. It makes a lot of sense that there is a fighter in the back, and the Armored Mewtwo really forces them to stay in this matchup while I can still do a ton of neutral damage. So we're going to go ahead and just let these charge moves go through. I feel like my Charizard is going to be the play. I'm going to go ahead and commit to that hard farm down, and Armored Mewtwo putting in a lot of work, and sure enough, it is a Virizion in the back, which is easily countered here by Armored Mewtwo with Confusion and Psystrike, along with our Charizard. So we're going to go ahead and go for another one. And Armored Mewtwo, honestly, it melds so many teams. I know there's a lot of you watching right now who don't have it, which is why I was saying I really hope it does come back. I'm going to go ahead and swap in Charizard and farm down. That's going to be a good game, very well played. I do hope it comes back because it's an incredibly strong Pokemon, even mine with suboptimal IVs over there, just because it was the one that I got from a raid. You know, it's the best I got. All right, we got a Cobalion here on the lead. So this is still somewhat of a decent matchup. They do decide to swap into Steelix, so now they are extremely core broken. I have really good answers in the back with Charge Moves, Dynamic Punch, and Blast Burn for the Cobalion. And the Tapu Fini here can easily win this mid-game matchup, like we have shown before. So I can store a lot of energy from this healthy farm down. So they decide this is the Psychic Fangs one that I was talking about earlier. They decided to go for the Psychic Fangs. I'm going to go ahead and go for the Surf now, try to get that shield, get ourselves in the 2-to-1, because then Charizard can easily double shield against Cobalion, going for 2 Blast Burns, right? So now we got ourselves in that 2-to-1. They decide to go for another Psychic Fangs, which is fine by me. I'm just going to go ahead and just commit to this farm down. There's really nothing they can do here. And we do farm down the Steelix, and they decide to surrender. So they were very core broken. Tapu Fini obviously did very well for me. Good game. All right, moving to the next one. Charizard. Obviously, very positive lead here. And the fact that they're not swapping out tells me, once again, they are core broken. This is what I found with Tapu Fini. It was already extremely meta and extremely strong before this season. But with the uptick of Steelix being run, Tapu Fini now serves a very, very good purpose to core break teams, as we can now get a shield there from Charizard. So now I'm going to be forced to shield, but they do decide to swap into Florges. So I'm going to go ahead and load up on energy and swap into Charizard here to catch the charge move. This is going to be Disarming Voice, I believe. Yeah, it is. So we can easily let that go. It's going to be heavily resisted, and we do have the Blast Burn as well for quite a bit of damage that we can do. Now remember, we're still at a shield advantage here. We have loaded energy on our Tapu Fini, so things are looking very, very good. We need to be mindful that something could sway hard in a different direction, so we want to try to play to our energy as best as we can. So I do have a loaded charge move here, ready to go with the Dragon Claw, and they do decide to swap in Excadrill. So they were, in fact, core broken, right? We saw there with the Tapu Fini on the lead, Charizard and Excadrill are core broken. Boom! First boom of the new house. You'll love to see it. We go ahead and swap in the Tapu Fini, and we're going to go ahead and water gun down that Excadrill. Man, poor thing. They were hoping for the shield bait, but obviously my win condition is to go for the Blast Burn there, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right. Popped our first boom. You'll love to see it. So this was my first set. Coming back, it was a nice 5-0, and we're going to go ahead and move into the next set. So we got Tapu Fini versus Shadow Walrein now. So Shadow Walrein, there could be a lot of different things in the back, but typically Shadow Walrein's there to counter the flyers and counter like Giratinas, while also having the energy come back in matchup. What I mean by that is if it swaps out, comes back in later with energy, we'll then see the Earthquake for the steals. So my anticipation was potentially some fighters in the back, maybe Virizion, Cobalion, you know, stuff like that. And we do actually see that they have a Charizard in the back, so they may be switching this ABB format. Instead of having Walrein and double fighter, some kind of synergy like that, they may be Walrein double flyer. So we easily take down the Charizard. The Shadow Walrein comes back in and has to dump energy, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and let this go, even though it is enough to KO us. And then we are going to look to come in with Tapu Fini and shield up the Earthquake here. I feel like they were core broken, right, considering they have Charizard in the back and Walrein. I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield here on the Earthquake and see what they decide to do, and they do decide to surrender. So really, they're a good game there. Their only win con was landing that Earthquake, because I'm guessing something in the back was weak. Maybe it was an Obstagoon back there. We'll have to see. But Tapu Fini now versus Poliwrath. So again, another pretty good lead here. We have really good answers. This is what I found with this team is the meta has it's really like condensed around Steelix and fighters from what I've seen, and then some like counterplay in between there, which is why I decided to go for this team, Tapu Fini and Charizard. We are core broken by an Ampharos, but an Ampharos can still go down to this team for anyone wondering. We do face off against one here, but we do see a Greedent swap in, because the reason why I decided to swap is because we got ourselves shield advantage. The Poliwrath is likely paired with something to beat Giratinas and whatnot. So my guess is that it could be weak, right? It could be a Steelix. It could be weak to the Tapu Fini, and I know my Armored Mewtwo is a perfectly fine safe swap here to try to get myself some more shields from my opponent. As we do get 2 now, we're going to try to get this Dynamic Punch off. So I will give up a shield here, because with that last confusion, it should be enough energy to throw the Dynamic Punch. Now, the question is, does this actually KO? It is super effective damage, but it's non-stab, and unfortunately is not enough to KO, so they will be able to get to another Body Slam in time. So I'm going to go ahead and let this go. I think my play here is to come in with Charizard and load up on energy, because the energy advantage on a Charizard is going to be better than the Tapu Fini. So we're going to go ahead and see that they do in fact come in with Poliwrath. So I'm going to go ahead and swap to try to catch the charge move, and they counter swap into Shadow Charizard right here. So they were in fact core broken. Now I thought it might be a Steelix, but in this case it's a Charizard, and it makes a lot of sense based on how they were playing this game. So we're going to go ahead and just go for the Surf here to KO them. This is going to be a good game. The Poliwrath cannot one-shot with the Scald against the Charizard with the health that I have, and it has to throw 2 charge moves to take out my Tapu Fini. Meanwhile, my Charizard has a Blast Burn. Even though it is resisted, it's a lot of damage, and I do have Wing Attack as a fast move. So they decide to go for back-to-back charge moves here, which then seals the deal, right? They could commit to the farm down, but then I get the Surf off, and then the Blast Burn here is going to basically be enough to KO. I think I'll have to do 2 Wing Attacks after, but either way, that's going to be a good game. Yeah, 2 Wing Attacks. 1, 2, and that is it. So good game. Very well played right there. But what I'm finding, or at least what I found with my first 2 sets back, is that Tapu Fini is core breaking a lot of teams. Now, they decide to swap out into Nidoqueen on this one. So this is kind of a tough one, because what I want to do here is set myself up with shield advantage. And I can do that by soaking the Poison Fang. Going for the Surf, I don't necessarily need a lot of health against the Walrein. Going for the Surf here, and then swapping into Armored Mewtwo, because Nidoqueen is still part poison, so that the Psychic Confusion damage is going to be chunking it. Now, we set ourselves up with shield advantage, so I want to maintain that, as I will let the Earth Power go through. It's not enough to KO because of just the bulk that we see right here, and we do get the full farm down. This is like, this is ideal. Shadow or Wall Rain's coming back in. I think it is Shadow Wall Rain. Wall Rain's coming back in, and we have Dynamic Punches, not Shadow. This is the purified one. We have Dynamic Punches that can do so much damage. So I will give up a shield here. Again, in these situations, when you have that energy and it's a guaranteed shield or land of a very hard-hitting charge move, you kind of want to take advantage of that, especially in my circumstances right here, as we do land the Dynamic Punch. And now they have to throw again, otherwise I get to the Psy Strike. So since they throw again, all the energy is gone, and we can safely come in with Charizard, because what we can do is win that race to the Dragon Claw. Unless they have a little bit more energy than I'm anticipating for. So we should be able to get there. Yeah, we do get there in time. We take out the Wall Rain here with Dragon Claw. Now we have a 1-0 shield. We don't know what their final Pokemon is, and it's going to be an Ampharos. So this is where things can get a bit dicey. Obviously the Ampharos in the back, but we have Blast Burn. We have a shield, and we also have Tapu Fini with some energy. But no, it doesn't have energy on this one. But yeah, that's going to be a good game. I'm going to go ahead and let this go. Now, they don't have Thunder Punch, which I thought was interesting. They have Power Gem instead. So I come in with Tapu Fini and just Water Gun down. It wouldn't have mattered if they had Thunder Punch, because I would have Water Gunned down in time, I believe, right there. But that is going to be a good game, very well played. Moving to the next one, we got Tapu Fini now versus Skeldridge, the new Fire Ghost starter, much like Alolan Marowak. And again, I haven't been able to get these Pokemon at all, just because of the timing of my family moving house. So unfortunately, I've missed the train on this this hype, but it does look pretty fun. But thankfully for this matchup, it's very positive for us. Now, the fact that they're staying in tells me they're core broken, as they do decide to go for Shadow Ball there. This next one isn't going to be enough energy for Shadow Ball, so it's likely going to be the Disarming Voice, which is still neutral damage. But we can easily survive that and look to go for another Surf, but they swap into Venusaur, so I'm going to go ahead and come in with the Charizard right here. And what we're going to look to do is take this into the ones and overload on energy. If my Charizard can have a charge move ready to go, basically the Dragon Claw on the back end, we're looking very good to apply pressure to that final shield for whatever they have. So we do land the Blast Burn, and then actually it's going to be a Greninja in the back. This is probably one of the most dangerous Pokemon to face off against with this team, if the Greninja gets an advantage. But in this case, it's even shields, so we actually have the advantage because we have so much energy. And thanks to the bulk on Armored Mewtwo, we should be able to survive a few Night Slashes. If they don't have Night Slash, obviously we're sitting really good. So we're going to go ahead and let the Hydro Cannon go through. It's going to be up to Armored Mewtwo and a Dynamic Punch to finish this game off for us. We're going to No Shield right here. The most damage that can be done to me is a Night Slash after it is boosted. So if the Greninja gets a boost, the next one is going to hit harder. So I actually have to let these go through. Now I'm also anticipating my opponent swapping. So what you guys are going to see me do is actually stop and wait for them to swap. I bank. This is very important. I bank the Dynamic Punch. I saved a Surf here on Tapu Fini, so I take out the Skeldridge. Then we do have the Greninja come in, but because I banked the charge move, I can go ahead and CMP tie right here with Greninja. We lose the CMP tie, but I do have a shield in order to survive, which means the Dynamic Punch will go through, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. So Greninja it was a rough situation right there. It could sweep my whole team, but thankfully because of how I saved my energy and danced things around, I was able to overcome that very tough situation. So good game to my opponent. All right, moving to the next one, we got Tapu Fini versus Talonflame. Very positive. This is all I'm seeing, guys. Counters to, I'm seeing Steelix, counters to Steelix, and counters to Steelix's counters. And it's this trifecta of basically like fighter, fire, Steelix. And we're able to overcome that with Tapu Fini. Core breaks everything. Now they do swap in an Armored Mewtwo, so I'm going to go ahead and swap into mine after chunking it down. If you don't have a great answer to a Pokemon, right? We don't have a hard answer to this Armored Mewtwo, right? I don't have like a Giratina Altered. I don't have like an Umbreon or something like that. You need to get an advantage in some way. You can't just swap in. So the advantage that I got there was going for the Surf and doing Water Gun damage so that when I come into the mirror fight here, I can overcome it. Now, in this situation as well, this Mewtwo has so much, my opponent's Mewtwo has so much energy, I'm going to be forced to shield, but I think this shield is going to be worth it because I will be able to farm down. So I'm going to give up a shield here, because what you guys are going to see is my opponent actually decides, instead of letting me farm them down, they swap back into Talonflame. This means that the Talonflame obviously is switch locked in for 60 seconds. That's how the switch clock works. And secondly, it's going to be forced to shield because I have 2 Psy Strikes ready to go, and then I can even swap into my Tapu Fini right here to look to counter them. Now, there is the call of, is this Brave Bird or is it not? And I wager that the Brave Bird is okay, because if it lands and takes me out, Charizard's going to come in and load up on energy like you've never seen before, and I would safely shield their next Brave Bird. So I'm going to let all these go through. I don't care. I think Tapu Fini is taking out the target that it needs to, and if it does core break something in the back, hopefully Charizard's Blast Burn counters that as well. So they come in with Mewtwo, and that's, yeah, it's a wrap. Final Pokemon actually is going to be Guzzlord, so we would have Dragon Claws in the back, and they do decide to surrender, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, I think that might have been the last one. Yeah, that was the last one. So, solid 10-0 today with this team. Tapu Fini, Charizard. Oh, I'm looking, my other monitor's over here. I need to maybe switch the camera or something, but Tapu Fini, Charizard, and Armored Mewtwo. I think the core of Tapu Fini and Charizard is incredibly strong in this meta. It only really gets core broken off the top of my head by Ampharos or electric type Pokemon, which aren't too common and kind of struggle in the Steelix meta. And then Armored Mewtwo, you could swap that out for a bunch of stuff. It's just a safe swap that counters grass type Pokemon. So like Venusaur, for example, or the Virizion. So look to do that, something that counters grass type Pokemon and has some neutral play and coverage charge moves to get yourself shield advantage. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We're going to be putting out as much content as possible from here on out now that I'm settled in the new house. And like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.